and Congressman Tom Emmer joins us now. Thank you so much for coming in.
Good morning, Esme.
All right, got to ask you, basket of deplorables, what does that make you?
I think we were talking beforehand, it's very lonely in this basket. Listen, people say things that I think they regret. It doesn't matter what their party affiliation is. They get into these heated campaigns, and it's full of rhetoric. This campaign, I think we would have to acknowledge, is probably one of the most deplorable campaigns when it comes to rhetoric that we've seen.
I assume you're talking about Secretary Clinton and not Donald Trump.
Listen, I don't associate with myself with some of the things that our candidate has offered as well. But we got to talk about issues, Esme. We got to get our candidates to start talking about issues. When we talk about the presidency of the United States and the next 4 years and perhaps 8, depending on who wins this election, it's about the direction that this country is going to go in. And I look at a Hillary Clinton presidency, which is going to be nothing more than an extension of the last 7+ years that we've had. We can't survive on 1.7% GDP annual economic growth, which we've had since 2008. We can't possibly think that it makes sense to have an economy growing at 1.1%, which we've now sustained over the last 3 straight quarters. And then you look at our foreign policy, both our international policy when it comes to safety and our domestic security. Hillary Clinton's got her fingerprints all over that, and the world has never been more destabilized than, I don't think, since maybe World War II times.
Well, Congressman Emmer, let's talk about foreign policy. Your candidate has repeatedly cozied up to Vladimir Putin and expresses repeated admiration for him. Is this the man? I mean, we really want that in the presidency?
Well, I don't care who you want to associate yourself with a kind remark or a. Let's face it. Is Vladimir Putin the guy that we want leading the world? Absolutely not. But with the complete vacuum that's been created by the current administration, a failure to articulate a foreign policy, or some would argue, the foreign policy that our current administration, which included Hillary Clinton as the Secretary of State for the first 4 years, has articulated is what they have called a lead from behind foreign policy, a reactionary, incremental foreign policy. That's not about leading. So regardless of what our candidate has said when it comes to Vladimir Putin, it's what he will do in the presidency. And I tell you what, Esme, he's surrounding himself with people that do know what they're doing. If you look at General Mike Flynn, who is one of the foremost experts when it comes to intelligence that our defense has had in the last decade plus. So as long as he surrounds himself, and he's made a commitment, by the way, which I haven't heard from Hillary Clinton, a approach of appeasement has not worked, her approach. This candidate has made it clear. Why are you alone amongst top Republicans in Minnesota, virtually alone, in voicing your full support? I mean, why are you sort of out there? Why do you think all these other Republicans are kind of trying to dodge this entire issue, trying to avoid even speaking Donald Trump's name? Well, I don't know that people are. I mean, I know there are some. I know there are some, but I'm going to maintain, Esme, that a lot of this has to do with campaigns are emotional experiences. You get tied into a candidate, you get tied into a cause, and when that candidate does not succeed, sometimes people have a very negative reaction. It takes them a while to get back and unite. If you look at Donald Trump is caught up to Hillary Clinton in almost every poll nationwide. And that is, and by the way, definitely happening. He's got 90% of the Republican base behind him. So for people, yeah, there are some folks in Minnesota that still are working through the fact that it's not the candidate that they expected. It wasn't a candidate that they had in their top 16. Guess what? He may not have been your first candidate, but he is now our candidate, and this is the choice that we're going to be faced with in November. A continuance of the policies, both economic and national security policies that we've experienced under the current administration, or something new that is about putting America first and making sure that government meets its #1 obligation, and that's protecting the people of this nation and the homeland. Okay, well, Congressman Tom Emmer, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you, Esme.